This is the City of Waupaca, first Tuesday of the month, City Council meeting.
All right, let's get going then. We have a public hearing before we start the regular City Council meeting. So let's begin with that. We have a notice of a public hearing on special assessments for public improvements in the City of Waupaca. We are doing this obviously video teleconferencing. It's May 5th, 2020, 6:09 p.m. I call this to order, and in attendance, Sandy.
Brian Smith.
Here.
Steve Hackett.
Still here.
Okay. Lori Chestnut.
Here.
Paul Hagan.
Here.
Alan Keeland.
Here.
Scott Perchatsky.
Here.
Dave Peterson.
Here.
Paul Mayo.
Here.
Dimitri Martin.
Here.
Mary Fish.
Here.
And Eric Olson.
Here.
10 present. We have a quorum.
All right, so as in past years, we have done some sidewalk work on properties, and that's basically what this special notice is for. You can see in your special notice the addresses of the properties and the amount that these people are going to be charged. We did this specific area, right, because we're going to be doing the Granite Street project this year, and this would be a good time to do that.
Yep, the sidewalk program runs concurrently with the roadway program, so Granite Street was identified this year.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so at this time, I don't even know how this works. Do we have anybody that's...
I think Justin does, though.
Okay.
He's received a couple calls.
Okay. So Justin, you do have some comments from people?
I received, sent and received one email correspondence and one phone call. One was from, the email was from 330 Granite Street, and basically just discussed the limits, how they were defined and what sidewalk we anticipated removing. We looked into it further, and we'll probably be adjusting that number down. The other one was 409 Granite Street, and that was the phone call. Very similar conversation, but except for in that one, there was a math error, and again, that number would probably come down as well. I think that's all I really have to mention right now for those, with maybe the exception that the notice here is an estimated cost. These are not the actual assessed costs. The actual cost will come after the project is over and we get an official measurement of what sidewalk was replaced.
All right. So is there anybody else that's on our conference tonight that would like to speak either in testimony in favor or opposition to this special assessment? And Sandy, just explain to us how these people can pay for that as long as we're here.
Well, if it's under $100, it's due within 30 days. If it's between $100 and $500, they'll have 5 years and it can go on the tax roll. And if it's $500, it will be assessed at 8 years. They can use 8 years to pay it off.
Okay.
So that's how that works.
Makes sense? All right, any other discussion? I'll declare this public hearing closed at 6:13 p.m. Let's go right into the regular agenda then. I'll call the regular council meeting to order, and let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic Constitution stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I was just thinking if you were listening to it.
Yeah.
So. All right, we have Sandy reading the clerk's open meeting statement for us.
This meeting and all other meetings of the Common Council are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the media in accordance with Wisconsin state statutes, so the citizens may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting.
All right, and also take roll for us.
Brian Smith,
Here.
Steve Hackett,
Here.
Lori Chestnut,
Here.
Paul Hagan,
Here.
Alan Keeland,
Here.
Scott Perchatsky,
Here.
Dave Peterson,
Here.
Paul Mayo,
Here.
Dimitri Martin,
Here.
Mary,
Here.
and Eric Olson.
Here.
10 present, we have a quorum.
All right, next up, we have the consent agenda. This can be found on page 4 and 5 of your packet. These are all items that we vote on with one motion. Unless you would like to see any of these items moved to the regular agenda, where we would vote on them individually.
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
This is Alan, second.
Motion by Hackett, second by Keelan, that we approve the consent agenda as printed. Any discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
and Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, next up is the regular agenda, and Sandy says she has one addition to that.
Under number 9, new business letter C, Jeff's summer vacation request, and the map for the farmer's market under number 9, new business letter F, were both uploaded to the city website. That's it.
All right, nothing else. We would need a motion to approve.
This is Lori, move to approve.
Second, Dimitri Martin.
Thank you. Motion by Chestnut, second by Martin, that we approve the regular agenda with those additions. Any discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
and Steve Hackett.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, next up, we have under announcements and correspondence, we have recognition of Tina Dennis for her 28 years of service to the city. As you all know, Tina is getting close to retiring, and I won't, I'll let her explain that to you. I think, Tina, you're on, right?
Yes, I'm here.
Well, first of all, I want to be able to thank you, Tina, for your 28 years of service. You've done a wonderful job. Everybody seems to be getting their paycheck every pay period. So that's awesome. And I wanted to have, make sure you have the opportunity to speak to us. So go for it.
Sorry, I couldn't quite hear you. Could you please repeat what you
Thank
said?
you very much, Mayor. I'd like to announce that working for the city of Waupaca has been a pleasure. I've gotten to know a lot of employees and a lot of the citizens of Waupaca, and it's going to be a new chapter for me, and I really look forward to it, and I appreciate all that the city has done for me.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else would like to make any comments?
This is Kathy. I just want to thank Tina for the 5 years that I've had working with her and learning the mechanics of the city. She's helped me a lot in my job, and I wish her well in her retirement and future endeavors.
Thank you.
The only thing I'll add is that when I saw Tina today, I think the smile on her face was about as big as I've seen it in a long time. So I know she loved working for the city and loved the people she worked with, but I know she's excited for this next chapter. So Tina, thank you for everything and congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
All right, I can't remember, Tina, what did you say, 8 days?
Yeah, eight business days.
Well,
Friday
good
the
luck to you.
15th.
All right, well, good luck, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on then. We have a proclamation to read. This is for the 51st Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week. And I actually have it here on the screen. I can read it.
Okay.
Whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all, whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community, whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of professional municipal clerks through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk. Now, therefore, I, Brian Smith, Mayor of the City of Waupaca, do recognize the week of May 3rd through May 9th, 2020 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerk, Sandy Stibbs, and to all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their dedication to the communities they represent. Mayor Brian Smith. Dated this 5th of May, 2020. All right, Sandy, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the annual review of Code of Ethics. We don't have anybody new on the council, but we do, after our election, either the meeting or 2 meetings after that, we review our Code of Ethics. I hope that all of you have had the opportunity to look at that again. And do we have any comments or questions about the Code of Ethics? If not, we'll just place this on file. You probably will see this a few times, obviously, because each committee or board that you sit on will actually also review those Code of Ethics. Next up, we have public input. This is for non-agenda items. And I know that each and every one of you received an email, but I'll let Aaron just explain. I had some discussion with Ken Van Dyke this afternoon, and he just wanted to make sure it was in the read in, or not read, but just put in for public input. So Aaron, go ahead.
Yep, I just wanted to mention everyone as, first of all, this is the only public input I got. I received it this afternoon from Mayor Smith, and as I understand it, you may have all received it already, but there was just a letter from Ken Van Dyke stating his running for the state Senate. Hopefully you all received. If you did not, please contact me after this meeting and I can certainly get it to you. It was a lengthy email and lengthy document, so I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I did want to just read it in for the record of this meeting, that it was received and it was distributed to City Council.
All right, any comments on that? And any other public input that the council or staff would like to talk to us on non-agenda items? All right, let's move on to new business then. We have a resolution number 1456. This is a resolution, sorry, this has to do with the public hearing. This is a resolution declaring intent to levy special assessments under municipal policy power pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 66.0703. Justin, you want to touch on this anymore?
Just a little bit, Mayor. Just real quickly, again, this is a preliminary resolution, and the assessments are based on our sidewalk ordinance, where any replacements are a 50-50 cost share to the residents and between the city. We have to give proper notification underneath this state statute, and that is what's occurring right now. A final resolution adoption will be held later. And Sandy mentioned the assessment process with how the money is handled and how they can pay that back. And again, it does follow our Granite Street roadway project. We've done this a number of times in the past because typically we get better pricing on the sidewalk replacement.
All right. Any questions? We're looking for a motion to approve this resolution.
Move to approve the ordinance number 1456. This is Lori.
Okay. Motion by Chestnut, second by Peterson, that we approve resolution number 1456. This is a resolution, preliminary resolution declaring intent to levy special assessments under municipal police power pursuant to State Statute 66.0703. Discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
and Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, thank you. Next up, we have a water department pay scale update for 2020. This is you also, Justin.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So we did something very similar in the wastewater department when we brought on our latest employee. We adjusted the pay scale there, and it followed the DNR certification process. Our pass scale followed the DNR certification process, and that was recently updated. So we adjusted our scale in the wastewater department to show that you cannot get full pay unless you are fully certified and then also master the subclasses that the DNR recognizes are important to our systems. So on the wastewater side, it's much more complicated. The water side is a little bit more straightforward. The table you see before you, the grade 1 that's in the middle there is being added. Now that's if the DNR recognizes our operators as a grade 1 certified operator, that's the pay they would get. They need to master the 2 subclasses, which got cut off in the text there, which is D and G, which stands for distribution and groundwater. If they don't master those 2 subclasses, then they can't receive the full pay of $25.02, which is the 2020 standard right now. So basically, this is not giving raises. It's not giving any kind of bump in pay, but what it's doing is incentivizing basically the training of our staff to make sure that they are wanting to get to the fully certification, which is going to help us and then also help them. So with that, I'm just looking for approval of this updated pay scale, which would add that middle pay level there and would mirror basically our wastewater department.
Okay, any questions? All right, so Justin or staff is looking for us to approve this payment scale.
This is Alan. I move to approve.
Steve, second.
Motion by Keelan, second by Hackett to approve the water department pay scale for 2020. Discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Derek Olson,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
and Steve Hackett.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
Okay, next up, we have a vacation request from Jeff Summers, who works in our wastewater treatment plant. Justin.
Yeah, so this is our new hire. So I probably should have mentioned we did this pay scale update. Well, I did mention we brought on the new guy for our sewer department, timing that up with the new guy coming into the water department. Jeff Summer from New London will be joining our crew next week. He has 4 years of experience working at the village of Hortonville and is fully certified in both the water and wastewater side. So we did the interviews with Jeff, felt he was a really great person, had the skills and background that we're looking for, mainly with the meter changeouts. And of course, he has the experience and the certification. One thing he requested was to honor some of the vacation that he has already set up for the year. And per the employee handbook, we're allowed to do this. And then also give him credit for his past years of service with another public municipality. So the sections are detailed in the memo. So the handbook, section 8CA, he slots in at 4 years of service, which means he would start at 112 hours. Now that's got to be prorated because he's starting in the middle of the year. So he would come on board and would start at 75 hours for this calendar year. Starting 2021, he would be in the 5-year scale and would just start working on receiving those hours as well. And like I mentioned, he has plans, vacation plans in June, a couple days, one in August and one in October. Typically, we do not allow the usage of vacation during the probational period, but with exception, we can get approval through council and make that exception. So guess what I'm looking for here is just approval of allowing Jeff to be slotted in with the 4 years of service with the vacation schedule that is laid out in the employee handbook, and then also approving the noted days of vacation to be used within his probational period.
Okay, any questions on this vacation request?
Yeah, this is
Again.
Alan.
Yep, go ahead.
My question really relates to whether council has to approve the first part that you talked about, Justin. Since it's already covered in the employee handbook, I think really all we have to approve is doing it during his probationary period.
Well, to answer that question, it does say in the handbook that that has to be approved by both the city administrator and the city council. So that's why I'm bringing it forward to the council.
Alan, we had the same thought actually as you just had, and as we looked in the handbook, it is written exactly like Justin just said. So technically, city council would have to approve both.
Okay.
Okay, so we'd be looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion, we approve.
Second. Wow.
Motion by Hackett, second by Hagan, that we approve of the vacation request for Jeff Summers, the new water department employee, to start
May 11th.
May 11th, and that we allow his vacation rate of earnings of 112 hours. Does that cover it?
Yep.
Okay, sounds good. Any further discussion? Sandy, call the roll.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
and Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, next up, dealing with Granite Street. Justin, you're still going.
Yep. So Granite Street, we had the design. It's been finished up. It was put out to bid. We received 7 bids, which is a great number. The sealed bids were read at April 23rd at 1:30. Basically, I have on the memo a quick little table there showing you the lowest bid versus what we had budgeted. So the Granite Street roadway and the parking lot, we budgeted $475,000 for. Plus, we're going to receive a $50,000 local roads improvement program grant. And then the alleyways, we budgeted $340,000 for a total project of $865,000. You can see the bid just for the roadway items in the alleyway came in much lower than that. It's $674,000. The water items, which comes from a different fund, so I separated that out, was slightly under budget. And so the low bid was Soper Grading and Excavating out of Oshkosh of $907,000 approximately. So moving forward, looking to get approval to go into contract with Soper Grading and Excavation for this project. The funding, which is, like I said, there's breaking up the difference between a borrow and the water utility, is detailed in the next sheet. If you may scroll down, Aaron, please. Too far. Go back up. Right there. So looking for funding, $725,000 from the 2020 general obligation bonds, which Kathy talked about, I think last council. Again, we're getting a $50,000 grant from the LRIP program, and then funding $260,000 from 2020 water revenue bonds. Now these numbers have been rounded. and they include a little bit of a contingency of 10 to 15%. We've done that in the last handful of projects, City Hall Square, Evans Street, Lake Street, and all those projects came within budget, which we did not really use the contingencies anyways. But it's nice to have because there are some uncertainties as we move into this project. Number one, kind of the running joke is they don't call it Granite Street for nothing. We're expecting to hit some rock, which might make things a little bit more difficult to construct. Cross your fingers that we still come underneath budget though. So with that, again, I'm looking for approval to go into contract with Soper.
All right, anybody like to make a motion?
Move to approve. This is Lori.
Second, Martin.
Okay, we have a motion by Chestnut, second by Martin, that we approve of entering into a contract with Soper Grading and Excavating LLC out of Oshkosh, Wisconsin for the Granite Street construction from North Harrison to North Main Street, parking lot construction at North Washington Street and Granite Street, and alleyway construction from West Badger Street to Granite Street in an amount not to exceed $1,035,000 with the funding of $725,000 coming from the GO bonds, $50,000 from the LRAP grant funding, and $260,000 from the 2020 water revenue bonds. So in that $1,035,000, it comes out to a contingency of about 14% over the estimated cost of $908,000 there. Any discussion?
Justin, I have a question. I don't have the figures in front of me, but I noticed when I was looking through the figures, there was one item that was $1. And when you look across to the other people bidding on it, it was a lot more. Do we ever do anything about that, or is it just a tough because they quoted it that way?
Yep. Scroll down, Aaron. He's talking about the bid tab analysis. So this, you can see on there, Soper Grading is first, followed by 3 more companies, and the next page shows the next 3 companies, and that's exactly what we do. Is we look at these units and the pricing and see if anything is completely out of whack. If there is, then we usually start by asking questions and making sure that these contractors are understanding what they're bidding. And, if we don't have a reassurance of that, then we have the right to basically pull the bid or just not award them the project. Here, yeah, there was some ups and downs. And a lot of times what contractors do is they'll bid or build some cost into one item and less cost into another item, because a lot of them are somewhat related to each other. Like concrete removal is related to grading and shaping. Brand new concrete kind of ties in the same thing. So it kind of depends on the crew and how they prefer to bid on these projects. And on this one, we didn't have anything that really threw up a red flag for us. And that us, I should say, myself, Roger Hansen, and then also Cedar Corporation, which was the designers that designed the project and also reviewed these bids for us.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, anything else? All right, Sandy will call the roll.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
and Eric Olson.
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right, Justin, lead service line on Granite Street also.
Yep, so similarly on Granite Street, this is technically a separate project because this deals with the water lateral service lines that are just on the private side. So traditionally, the city and the water department has never really touched those or have ever paid for those. The reason why we have a project here is because of the DNR has this lead service line program. We were awarded funds through that program a couple of years ago, which we used about half on Lake Street, and we're expecting to use the rest up here on Granite Street. So much like the road construction, we had a project, there was a design, it was let out to bid. Those bids were read and received on the 23rd of April and read at 2 o'clock, which is just after the roadway bids. We received 3 bids, and you can see the range of those were $204,000 to $292,000. And again, a summary of the bid tabs is attached. You can see, well, similar to Alderperson Hackett's comment about having an unusual line item there, we have that highlighted at 340. We had to have a discussion with the contractor on that one, but he's confident that that number is good for him. It's a very low number, so if he's right, then we're all good. Either way, we're protected through the contract and how the project is built. So the 3 bids, of course, the 3 that were there, we had a low bid of 204, which was David Tenner Corporation. This was the same company that did the Lake Street lead service line project. So we have a familiarity with them. We feel confident that they're going to do a good project. So I'm just looking for the action to go into contract with David Tenner Corporation out of Green Bay. And these funds would be coming out of the Wisconsin DNR lead service line program, not funded through the city.
All right, any comments? Motion?
This is Alan. Second, Alan.
Okay, who made the motion? I'm sorry.
Peterson.
All right, thanks, Dave. Motion by Peterson, second by Keelan, that city enters into a contract with David Tenner Corporation of Green Bay, Wisconsin for Granite Street lead service line replacement project from North Harrison Street to North Main Street in an amount not to exceed $204,106.50 with funds from Wisconsin DNR lead service line fund. Any discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Steve Hackett. Steve Hackett.
Aye.
Lori Chestnut.
Oops.
Is whoops mean aye or nay?
Whoops. It's on now. Thank you.
Paul Hagan.
Aye.
Alan Keeland.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Dave Peterson.
Aye.
Paul Mayo.
Aye.
Dimitri Martin.
Aye.
Mary Fair.
Aye.
And Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
Justin, thank you. Just think how much work Justin could get done if he wasn't at home with his kids doing all this work too, you guys. All right, next up we have farmers market. Aaron?
Yeah, I'll set this up, and we actually have Lindsay, who's the farmers market coordinator, with us tonight. So I'll turn it over to her after I kind of give you the general outline of what she's submitted. So she's here to just request use of the City Hall Square again for the farmers market this year. The dates, May 16th through the end of May, they would be operating from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then June 6th through October 31st, they would be their regular hours, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. I can say that I've been involved in some meetings, some virtual meetings with all the farmers market people, and Lindsay leading that. And Lindsay's done a nice job at setting up a lot of guidelines around this COVID-19 situation, not only for the farmers market vendors, but also for the customers. She's involved myself and Chief Ozell and to get input from a spacing standpoint for the vendors around the square. And she's kind of has, that's what was attached in a map later, and she's shown that. And then that'll be something, if we see that there's problems with one vendor getting busier, maybe we'll move them in a little different area the following week. She is also, I think it's also important to note that only vendors selling essential items at this time will be allowed to operate. That's all subject to change as the Safer at Home order changes. So I know Lindsay wanted to share a couple data points with you, I think from last year. So with that, I'll turn it over to Lindsay.
Hello, nice to see everybody. So yeah, I just wanted to share some of the data that came out of the market from last year, since we started collecting some solid information, just so that everybody is aware of how the market is doing. So last year overall, visitors at the market spent $47,583. $15,063 of that was specific to produce. So I think that can kind of help show how much business is being brought to downtown by the market being on the square. We started our SNAP program last year, so we started to accept EBT cards, and between EBT cards and credit card processing, that brought in an extra $2,000 to the market just by offering that service. We had about 17 vendors participate in the market last year. That was on average. There were definitely days where we had much more than that. I also would like to share that this year I already have 4 or 5 new vendors that have signed up, several of them being produce vendors, a couple of them being more non-essential vendors, but the market is definitely gaining some traction with both customers and vendors. I unfortunately don't have a great number on the average number of visitors per day to the market. I didn't have enough volunteers to collect that data accurately, but potentially this year I'm hoping to fix that, if not for sure next year once we're hopefully returned back to normal. So I don't have a great number on that, but I just wanted to share some of that data with you. I also want to share that along with our in-person market this year, I have launched a new website for the farm market where customers can order items from vendors online and then pick them up prepackaged already for them at the market. That will be going public tomorrow. So if you wanted to visit that, it's just waupacafarmersmarket.org. It's a really great website. So I just wanted to share that information as well. I think that's it, unless anybody has any questions for me.
Good luck.
The only thing I'll say is I did get a chance to look through that waupacafarmersmarket.org, and it's a very well done website. So I'd encourage anyone to go check it out if you have some time.
Okay, so what we would need is to go ahead and approve the 2020 farmers market plan for 2020.
So move.
Here's another question.
Motion by Hackett.
Second, Lori.
Second by Chestnut, that the council approves of the 2020 farmers market on the city square.
Question.
Hold on a second. All right, discussion.
Peterson, question.
Go ahead.
Okay, my question is, does this include the person that vends off of the Fulton Street establishment?
No, he's not a part of the market. He's on his own. So I think Aaron might have more information on that, but.
Oh, he's not
Yeah,
part of
Dave. Yep. Right now, I was able to speak with him late last week, and we are working through a temporary structure permit as well as a separate farmer's market permit with him. So he's going to be getting those applications in very, very shortly here.
And he would follow the same guidelines, basically?
He would be required to follow the same guidelines as the Safer at Home order outlines, and that's something we've talked about.
Question, Scott, from Scott.
Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
Aaron, I presume you checked this. Can you describe how this falls under the state's guidelines and is allowed?
Yeah, actually, so farmers markets are specifically noted in the Safer at Home order as being allowed, especially when we're talking about food. It's the same type of stuff as grocery stores. There are some farmers market vendors that do sell non-essential, what is considered non-essential items. Lindsay, give me an example of what that may be.
So we have we have a vendor who normally she makes her own like children's games and toys. She will not be there, or artisans, people who are creating art. We have a lot of woodworkers. They will not be able to have their products there. And the reason why farmers markets are able to stay open is, like you said, Aaron, they're just like a grocery store. They're pretty critical to the food supply chain right now. Considering some of the shortages that we're seeing. The other thing to keep in mind is these guidelines all follow the Wisconsin Department of Health and Human Services guidelines that have been created for farm markets. One of the big things is at least at the Waupaca farm market, the customer will not be able to touch anything. Which is different than the grocery store. You go to the grocery store, you can still pick your own produce, but at the farm market, you won't even be able to touch the product. So in that regard, not only is it an open air market where we're outside in the fresh air, but I believe it's also a little more strict than the grocery store standards.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll have Sandy call the roll.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Keeland,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
and Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
Lindsay, thank you for logging on with us tonight.
Thank you for hearing me. I appreciate it.
All right, next up, we have a resolution 1451. This is I'll just have Kathy explain it to you and then we'll move forward with that. Kathy?
Sure. My item is on page 123 of the packet, and this is a resolution in waiving the interest and penalties on the room tax payments. And this is following what the state of Wisconsin passed under Act 185 to give relief to businesses and helping with cash flow, is that they allowed for the deferment of paying their sales and use taxes and local exposition taxes until the end of the emergency orders. And they won't be penalizing anybody who takes time, that extra time to pay their taxes. They still will have to pay the taxes, but they just won't be charged interest and penalties during the emergency orders time. So the resolution is waiving the portion of the ordinance that we have in place that would penalize any of the hotels, bed and breakfasts in remitting their room tax late. And that's what this is doing. This has been reviewed with the CVB board, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and at their April 28th meeting, and they also agreed to the waiver in helping the hotel and bed and breakfast and remitting the taxes.
Okay, any questions? We would be looking for a motion to approve this resolution.
Olson to approve.
Second, Fair.
Motion by Olson, second by Fair, that we approve resolution 1451. This is a resolution authorizing a taxation district to waive interest and penalties on room tax payments due on or after April 1st, 2020. Any discussion? Sandy will call a roll.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
and Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, Kathy, I think you're still up with this. I think this is you and Aaron, but with the TID 4 and TID 10 revisement.
Okay. This item's on page 127 of the packet, and what city staff's been doing over the last few months is reviewing the TIF project plans that were created back by city staff in 2001. We were under the impression that there was some language in these project plans and found that we were not right. And so some of the development that we're looking at is not going to be able to be helped with any help from the TIDs in 4 and 10. And so we did talk to R.W. Baird, Justin Fisher, and Brian Riegel in regards to these project plans, and they talked to the Department of Revenue and found out that we were under the wrong impression that we couldn't do anything with these project plans, but we can amend the project plans for TIF 4 and 10 and bring them up to date with current TIF statutes and some of the language that is missing in the original project plans. And so we want to engage R.W. Baird to do the review of the project plans, create the documents necessary and the public notices for the joint review boards, and get everything all up to date so that we can continue to assist in any economic development within these areas of TID 4 and 10. TID 4 is the Western Avenue, which would encompass the Shopko store, Pick and Save, and that area. And TIF 10 is the Rec Center, Badger Street, Division Street, and the St. Mary's area. So we're looking at helping them get the language corrected and be able to help with economic development. What the plan is to change the project plan, but still go forward with closing these TIDs sooner than later. the intent is not to to create language that's going to keep these TIDs open any longer than what we've projected in the past.
Okay, so more specifically, when Kathy was talking about this, we were talking about, you have these boundary lines when you have TIDs, and by redoing these TIDs 4 and 10, you're going to be able to use a half mile radius around those TIDs to also include on projects that might be come forward. As far as I know, we don't have any projects that we're looking at this time, but we do know that we do have a number of vacant sites that could take advantage of that. One being the Kmart building, the Shopko building. I mean, it could even go as far as the Turney building, if that's depending on what the process is there. That would be in TID 4, and I'm just giving you one side of the circle. Of course, it would surround the other way too, out towards like Culver's and Aldi's and in that direction. And then in TID 10, part of that half mile circle would encompass the downtown area. So we would get most of the downtown businesses could be included in that half mile radius also. And it seems to us that to make a lot of sense to have that ability to look at that with the understanding that there might be something that we can do to help them. So that's why this is being brought forward tonight. Aaron, I don't know if you have anything more you want to add to that.
Well, no, I think that Mayor and Kathy summed it up pretty well. I think this is just one of those things and one of those actions that we feel like it gives us a tool, and we're better prepared to help in some areas. Obviously, we're in a unique time. We have a Main Street project happening next year, and we know that the downtown area is going to be stressed by some of that, and we're just having a lot of conversations. We're trying to keep all our options open, so that's the only other thing I'll add to this. But I think they covered it well.
Okay, so to do this, RW Baird obviously has to do some work for us, and to do these two TIDs, it's going to cost $13,500 to revise or to make amendments to these TIDs. So that's why it's in front of you today, for you to give us permission to enter into an agreement with RW Baird to do these amendments. These monies, Kathy, will come from
each of the TIDs, TID 4 and TID 10, which have funds available.
Okay. All right. Any specific questions? A motion?
I have a question. I have
Sure.
two questions, actually. So, and I guess I could have called Kathy earlier and asked this question, but I didn't. How did we not know this before, I guess? Have we not looked to do anything in these two TIFs before that would require us to have the correct paperwork? So that's my one question. My second question is, if I'm a small business person in downtown Waupaca, how would I tap into this new ability to go up the half mile radius, and how would that affect me as a small business owner?
Kathy, why don't you answer the first question, and Aaron and I will team up on the second question.
Okay, the reason the review is coming to light is one, when these project plans were created, they were not reviewed by legal counsel. The council at the time and the city staff thought they could save some money by just boilerplating some other project plan that didn't have some of the options in there. We also were under the impression that we couldn't amend any project plans because we were over the state limit of 12% of equalized value being in the TIDs. When we were discussing the review with the annual review with the TIDs with Baird, and the possibility of, you know, it would be really nice if we could get a half-mile radius, but, you know, do we have to wait till we're under the 12%? That's when Justin and Brian from Baird called their contact in the Department of Revenue, and they asked, you know, is this possible to go in there and amend the project plan language? And the Department of Revenue told them that of all of our TIDs that we have open, only 4 and 10 could be amended because they are not distressed. We would make sure that the language was up to date so that if 4 had funds that it could also donate to 10, or the opposite, that 10 could donate to 4, but the value that increment that 10 generates is just enough right now. We want to make sure that we have some funding available should there be a project that we need additional funds for to develop the St. Mary's project. So I think this just helps in getting all of the documents, the project plans up to date and working. TIF 4 has an expenditure period till 2022, and TIF 10 has an expenditure period till 2023. So there's still a couple years left to do projects. So this would be helping in giving us the tools to do some economic development in those areas.
Yeah, so the final part of that question, Mary, too, would be, you said, was there anybody else in the past that had asked that probably fit into that half-mile radius? And we would have to say, yes, there have been. I can't name those right now. I don't think anybody, maybe somebody knows of one, but as we had thought before we talked to Baird just last week, we didn't think that we could amend it. So the answer was no until we got this ruling. So, and you know, in looking forward instead of backwards, we do now know that we can do this, and we can maybe take advantage of it if there's something that comes forward. And it is going to cost us some money, but it also is going to, like Aaron said, it's going to give us a tool to maybe help some of these distressed areas that maybe cannot do a project without a little bit of help. Whether it's just you know, infrastructure like water and sewer, or whether it's roadways or driveways or whatever it is for these properties, you know, or just improvements to their buildings, which add to the tax base. Those are all things that that open up by being able to increase the radius of this TID district. The answer to the downtown is, Mary, I think is your answer right now is it's a good question. We're not sure what we could do for the downtowns yet, but we have brainstormed on a number of things that we think we could do. I'm not sure that we want to publicly state too much yet because you know, we want to make sure that we fully understand what it's going to cost, how much we have available, what are the pros and what are the cons of helping. We do know that obviously you know, Main Street project is gonna be next year, and it is gonna be a stress on the downtown area as well as the whole community, but, so we do know that, there might be some opportunity to help them out a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that, and you know, is that we've spent the last few weeks just trying to overturn every rock to see what tools we have, you know, to help with a number of things. And some of the key points that we've been talking about for a long time are the big box stores that are going out with retail, so Kmart and Shopko areas. Obviously, we're in a pandemic. You know, the Main Street project and the impact that'll have next year, especially coming off the heels of a pandemic, and then just programs that could improve the value of buildings in each of those circles. And what we did know, Mary, is that you know, without getting that half-mile radius, we didn't see a tool to help with some of those things. And this move will allow us to strategize around that and bring forward a proposal that can get talked about from a council level, and hopefully at least have a chance to have a positive impact in those areas. So that's the only thing I'd like to add.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Anybody like to make a motion to approve of this agreement with Baird?
This is Mary. I would move to approve this agreement with Baird.
Second, Martin.
Or
Okay, so I heard motion by Fair, second by Martin.
Yes.
All right? Okay, thank you. To approve an engagement with R.W. Baird to assist with project planned amendments for TID 4, better known as Western Avenue TID, and TID 10, which is better known as the Badger Street TID, in the amount not to exceed $13,500. That's a total of $13,500. Any discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
and Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, excellent. Kathy, thank you. Next up, we have communications and recommendations of the mayor. I haven't even really talked to city staff about this, but our next meeting is May 19th, which we'll plan to do virtually. But after that, unless things drastically change, I would think that starting in June, we will start at least our city council meetings, meeting physically in the council chambers. We have some things to discuss about that, but I just want to make sure that you're aware that we're moving towards that. If you do have some concerns, you know, don't be afraid to let me know or Aaron know what those concerns. I mean, we all have concerns, but some discussion on that if you want. But for now, the next meeting will be held virtually, just like we did tonight, and we'll move forward from there. Anything else for the good of the meeting? Paul Hagan, you're up.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
My goodness. Motion by Hagan, second by Martin, that we adjourn until the next regular council meeting on Tuesday, May 19th, 2020, subject to call. Sandy will call the roll.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Chatsky,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin, Dimitri,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
and Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, those of you that are missing baseball, I noticed that Korea is now opened up their season, so I'm guessing ESPN will probably catch on to that, huh?
Probably.
We're adjourned at 7:20 p.m. Everybody have a safe ride home. Have a great night.